Hi, I'm Christina Tidwell. I'm a registered nurse and holistic health coach and founder of Live Well with Christina. And today I want to tell you guys about confusing food labels. I was in the grocery store the other day in the meat and poultry section, and it was really overwhelming the amount of differing labels on all of the different fish and chicken and meat I was looking at. I was seeing things like gluten-free, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, organic, grass-fed, all of these conflicting labels, and I was just trying to make a good, conscious, informed decision for what meat or poultry or fish to buy for my dinners for the next week. And I was hoping, I wish and assume that my salmon was gluten-free or hormone-free or antibiotic-free, but it really got me thinking about what do these labels actually mean and what am I buying. Over the years, I have done a lot of research to figure out what those labels means and what the best choices are for me. But after this experience, I was just even more confused, and so I went and did a lot more research so I can give you guys some up-to-date information to just clarify what all of these confusing labels mean so that a trip to the grocery store doesn't have to be this overwhelming, confusing experience. So I'm going to go through a couple of the most common ones I found, just really simple, easy ways. I'm definitely not a farmer in agriculture, so if anyone is and really knows what these practices look like on a daily basis, I would absolutely love to know. So the first one that I kept seeing was natural. And currently, no standards exist for this label natural, except when used on meat and poultry products. So the USDA guidelines state that natural meat and poultry products can only undergo minimal processing and can't contain artificial colors and flavors, preservatives, or other artificial ingredients. But natural foods aren't necessarily sustainable, organic, or free of hormones or antibiotics. So technically the meat you buy from the grocery store that has that like pre-made seasoning or marinade on it isn't natural, and this term really doesn't mean a whole lot. And beyond requiring that producers include a statement explaining the meaning of the term natural, the label really isn't regulated. So it's one that's used a ton, and it kind of tricks us into thinking, oh yeah, this is probably better for me, it's natural. But just so you know, it really doesn't carry a lot of weight. The other one I was seeing a lot of was antibiotic free. And that just means that the animal wasn't given antibiotics during its lifetime, which is a good thing. To use this claim, animals cannot be administered antibiotics in their feed, water, or by injections. And other phrases you might see that indicate the same thing are no antibiotics administered and raised without antibiotics. Going along with that one, another one I see a lot is hormone-free. So hormone-free means that the animals were raised without hormones or steroids. And hormones are only approved for use in beef cattle and sheep raising. And they're not actually approved for use in poultry, pork, or veal. So you won't see the phrases no hormones administered on poultry, pork, or veal unless it's immediately followed by the statement federal regulations prohibit the use of hormones in poultry, pork, or veal. So for beef, though, it's a good idea to ensure that your meat is hormone-free, so you're not getting all those extra hormones that were pumped into the cow into you. The extensive use of hormones in meat and dairy may increase the risk of some cancers in humans and result in higher rates of infection in animals. So it's a good thing to avoid if you see that label. The third label that I saw a lot, which is probably the most confusing one, I think, is the label grass-fed. So we see that a lot with grass-fed butter or dairy or beef products popping up more in restaurants and hearing about how it's healthier for us. But I just wanted to do a deep dive and figure out exactly what that label means. So the idea behind grass-fed is that the difference in the diet of the cattle, which is grain versus grass, changes the nutrients and fats you get from eating the different types of beef. So technically the term grass-fed means that animals were fed grass, which is their natural diet, rather than grains. So grass-fed animals are not fed grain, animal byproducts, synthetic hormones, or antibiotics to promote growth or prevent disease. So that's an important add-on to that term too. So from an animal welfare standpoint, it seems to me that grass-fed animals are treated better and are happier and healthier animals overall. And additionally, eating grass-fed usually means that you are supporting smaller, more local farms and thereby reducing fuel costs to get the meat to you. So by avoiding grains in any part of the personal food chain, you can avoid supporting these larger factory farms. So that's from an environmental standpoint. And in addition to being more humane, some research shows that grass-fed meat is leaner and lower in fat than grain-fed meat. So grass-fed meat actually contains more of those omega-3 fatty acids, those good fatty acids that we're trying to get, and fewer of the omega-6, and has a better ratio of those two than conventionally raised beef. So that's one benefit. And meat and dairy from grass-fed cows are a good source of something called CLA, which is an important anti-inflammatory fatty acid. So when doing the research, those are the things that I found come up the most in terms of the benefits that we get from choosing grass-fed beef over grain-fed beef. A grass-fed label, however, doesn't mean that the animal necessarily ate grass its entire life. So to confuse you even more, some grass-fed cattle are grain finished, which means that they ate grain from a feedlot prior to slaughter. So this label is regulated by the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Services. And from what I found in 2016, this group had clarified some stipulations of the grass-fed label and deemed that the term grass-fed must meet a 100% grass-fed standard. So from what I found, the guidance is not perfect, and it will still require some scrutiny as to what you're actually purchasing, but it is definitely more well-regulated. And so the standard to look for on a label is 100% grass-fed. That's what it will say. So it's important to note, too, that this grass-fed label is not the same thing as organic. So organic meat can come from grain-fed cows, as long as that grain was organic. And I'm going to talk about organic as the next food label there. But just to clarify those two, so some beef is both organic and grass-fed, but they're not necessarily the same thing. So you might see two different labels on there. So the term organic. So organic means basically that that the products must follow a certain set of guidelines. And so that's things like not using synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, not using GMOs, having good soil building, conservation, manure management, crop rotation practices, providing outdoor access and pasture for their livestock, not using antibiotics or hormones, and that the animals have 100% organic feed, among others. What I've found is that the organic label is by far the most all-encompassing and well-regulated government label. And I think just in general, choosing organic or grass-fed beef or a combination of both make the best choices for meat. Organic, like I said before, organic meat is not the same as grass-fed. And the gold standard would be getting meat that is 100% grass-fed and organic. So if you are just using that as your benchmark or as the gold standard of what to buy or just to be more informed, that's a great choice. And again, these products can be more expensive, grass-fed or organic beef. So it's just basically using your knowledge, being a conscious consumer, and buying what's in your budget, doing the best you can with the knowledge you have. So I just want to give you guys this knowledge, but not tell you need to be buying organic grass-fed every single time. That's all you need to eat. Ideally, that would be wonderful in terms of environmental and health standpoint, but we got to do the best we can with the knowledge we have. So hopefully this is helpful. The last three terms I want to talk about have to do with eggs. So eggs are really confusing as well when you're going through the aisles and you see cage-free. So cage-free means that the birds were raised out of cages. What this doesn't tell us is whether the birds were raised outdoors on pastures or indoors in those overcrowded conditions. Free range is the other phrase. Free range or free roaming on egg and poultry labels can be used as long as the producers allow the birds some access to the outdoors. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the products are cruelty-free or antibiotic-free or that the animals spent majority of the time outdoors. It just means that there is some access to the outdoors. And these claims are all, verified and regulated by the USDA. Um, and so that's where I'm getting this information here. And so pasture raised is the third and last one, and that has to do with eggs too. So this indicates that the animal was raised on a pasture where it was able to eat nutritious grass and other plants rather than being fed grain in a feedlot or a barn. So pasturing livestock and poultry is a traditional farming technique that allows animals to be raised in a more humane manner where they're able to move around freely. So pasture-raised eggs are the best choice. Like I said about the meat, pasture-raised eggs are more expensive, so you just have to weigh the benefits here. Getting eggs from a farmer's market or through a community-supported agriculture box can be really great options too to get more affordable pasture eggs, and they taste so much better. I buy pasture eggs when I can, and you seriously notice a difference in the color and the taste, and so I think it's definitely worth it to do that. So to sum it up, all of this information, the gold standard choice for eggs is pasture raised, and for meat, ideally would be organic or grass fed, or a combination of both, or from a local farmer whose practices that you are aware of. So I know that these foods can cost more and would drive us to choose the cheaper option. But just do what you can and consider where you can make some swaps here and there. Like I said, doing a CSA, community supported agriculture, or some sort of meat share that's offered by farmers in your area. I know we have a lot of those in Seattle, can be a really good, affordable option. So hopefully that clarifies some of the confusing food labels for you guys. And next time you're walking through the grocery store aisles, you can make more informed, conscious decisions and be a more informed consumer and not be so overwhelmed and confused. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.